Suicide Squad. What up, fellow random rockers? Once again, your original random rocker here. I know it's been a little delayed because I had a lot to ponder on, and I've basically just every time I decide to do it, I fall asleep. So, I'm not doing that yet. The movie basically starring Margot Robbie, Harley Quinn, Will Smith, Deadshot, Joe the Little Joker, amongst a bunch of other cast members. And I gotta say, what the fuck, Rotten Tomatoes? It's like one of the few times where you just forget what the critics have to say. Just go see it yourself. And I did, and it's a shame they didn't reach their budget. They're missed the mark by about, I don't know, we're supposed to go 144 or something. So they missed their mark by maybe 10 million, maybe? Somewhere around there. And hopefully it doesn't have that huge drop, because the movie itself, comparatively speaking to what we got of Batman v Superman in theater, since that's all I got to go off of, since I haven't seen the Ultimate Edition, other than to know its better story structure, is that this movie, I have to say, this movie is freaking, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I felt I liked it a lot more than them. Sure, does it have its problems? Yes, but does it take away from entertaining you and from being a fun and entertaining movie? Not really. Not really at all. And I feel like that's what you should be going into. But that's what you should expect going into this. And it definitely has a very comic booky feel to it. In a very Sin City-ish, not in the same, almost in a Sin City kind of way. At least the way they edit it up and stuff. And then there's also, and a lot of people are going to have some Deadpool, between the Batman v Superman thing and the Deadpool thing, and the whole Deadpool thing is where the comparisons will probably come into play. Mostly because that's the last DC movie we had this past year with Batman v Superman. And then there's freaking Deadpool because, we're kind of rooting for somewhat of a bad guy. But it's more than one bad guy. It's a group of them. In a way, it's kind of has this... In a way, there's almost an Expendables-esque feel, I guess. Since technically those characters are like mercenaries, so... And of course, in this one, it's mostly just one who was a mercenary. And the whole point of this film was that they're all supposed to go on this Suicide Squad. Is that they're always bad guys. They're all forced to basically work for them and for the government to take care of certain bad guys because of Superman. Because after what happened with Superman's death, this being shortly after... Spoiler alert, in case you didn't see Batman v Superman. Yeah. That's about it. And because of that whole issue with him, he was finally realized by the time he died that he was on our side, they decided that if the next one is going to be more of a terrorist, they had to find a team to help take him out, even though that may be an interesting flaw that they aren't necessarily the team that could do it entirely, but it's more just the fact that the bad guys. So it's not enough of a perfect movie, but I've got to say, I had fun, I was entertained. It hit the right notes it needed to hit, just to show that it had a dark tone, but it was fun. Maybe not as, clever or as logically thought out as what critics were looking for. I mean, Marvel has spoiled us so much. Just give DC a chance, guys. And that's about all I gotta say about that without getting into spoilers. Now this is where I get into spoilers, and that's where the S stands for. Yes. Yeah, I did that for... yes. No, we're not talking Batman v Superman. The only reason why I wear the Batman shirt, in case you haven't already figured out, now that we're in spoiler territory, that's what this stands for this time around. Yeah. Yeah, he's in this plenty of times. When he came to capturing Deadshot, which was actually one of the most compelling of stories that actually, I think, even the critics themselves would have been like, that actually worked. And then Harley's backstory, of course, and I mean, she punched her, actually. It was the way that it was handled, though, and executed it, just came across somehow funny. But yes, hold on, let me move a little bit. Thank you. All right. And yes, wow, Harley Quinn is just... They fucking had her in the leotard, brief period. And they showed it in the box when they were, changing up and everything. Thing before the mission. Which really was just... The mission was just... I will admit, the mission itself, a little underwhelming, and sure... And that's another thing. Jared Leto's Joker, sure, there's a lot of him that comes off very Jim Carrey. And, not exactly like Riddler necessarily, even though technically he may as well have been they may as well try to recast the Joker or something for him for that Batman Forever. Ugh. But yeah, he was the Heath Ledger comparison is a little much. It's hard to beat, so he had his work cut out for him, but he did what he could with what was given, and I think for a lot of people, some people didn't like it, or at least they say the jury's still out. I liked it, but I even will say the jury's still out in terms of his performance, in terms of if he can still pull this off throughout the rest of the movie, so the DC Extended Universe, as they're calling it now. But, wow, guys, other than that, man, it's been a wonder. Other than that, yes, Deadshot with his daughter. Harley Quinn's basically was just there. Of course, they nailed her down, at least her New 52 story, from what I hear. Nailed her down, seeing her, like, even her isms from even the Batman animated series, the Puddins and Mr. Chase, just hitting them right so well. That it just, you tell that she played her well. And again, the leotard was so good. The leotard scene is just to see that design of Harley Quinn come to life and done so freaking well. Just if you didn't like that, you may as just screw you. You fucked and you've seen the animated series, and that did not do anything for you for the brief period of time that she was in that leotard. To your inner, you're a monster, because you may as well have just killed your own inner child. That's keeping you from doing some really bad stuff. So yeah, you're probably a monster, and stay the hell away from me. Yes. Now, the thing is that's underwhelming, that underwhelms everyone, even the ones who liked this movie, is the villain, but I was okay with it, I was okay with it, but I even will say that she's kind of a second-rate Loki that just likes to belly dance. Like, a lot, I guess. It's not that the build-up to her wasn't bad, it's just how they would execute her by the time they got to her in the third act was just meh. However, there's some characters in here like that were just thrown away and used to just show that that Amanda Waller means business, and that if they were to cut and run, they'd basically off them. And Slipknot was just there briefly. Slipknot wasn't a character most people cared for, so it didn't, and they didn't give us a chance to want to care about him. So they just used him for that purpose of this is what happens when you cut and run. And Jai Courtney's Captain Jai Courtney. For once, he's actually an actor worth talking about. Or at least he's like when he's in these side roles, he does well. Well, especially as Captain when he comes to Captain Boomerang. Though I don't fully understand Pink Unicorn and how he got captured, though that I did not see coming. The trailers didn't do between the leotard thing and this, and the trailers didn't show crap about Flash being in this one and him kidnapping Captain Boomerang, which is what led him in prison. Killer Croc got. I'm hearing there was another cut that was a little darker, and that Killer Croc had a lot more going on. Yeah, the best thing he had was when he told off some of the men, like when it came to like them having to go underwater and stuff just to infiltrate. It's like, no, dude, I own this shit. You get out of the way. It's like, it was just like, that was fun. That was funny, and it was definitely it was an interesting character moment. Katana didn't get much of anything other than, the brief explanation about other than, her being an assassin and beating up some people for having killed her husband, and then finding out that her husband's soul has been stuck in the sword, and that's her way of trying to conversate with him or something. Besides that, there's not really much to this. Besides that, I mean, Diablo, though. The only character that was OP winds up being mostly a pacifist. And that interesting conversation with Deadshot. Wow. Just wow. He's mostly because of what he did with his family, and that bar scene was probably the most truly team-oriented character development that happened. That's the thing about this thing; it gives you a chance to want to, for the most part, give a damn about the characters, but it doesn't have the best overarching story. It feels more like a straight-up intro to these characters, and in terms of possibly being more so or less a film that would wind up serving the potential possibility of the Harley Quinn's standalone film that I think a lot of people were teasing and talking about. Yeah, this film does that. It seems to do that a lot more with flying colors. And Joker has plenty of moments in there, and it seems, unlike what we all know of him as being more of the abusive boyfriend, he actually does give a shit. Sure, he still prioritizes himself over her, but it's not like he doesn't wind up, feeling like shit about it, or at least it's not like he doesn't give a damn because he was willing to break her out of prison and help her get out of the whole Suicide Squad issue, even though, I mean, the whole thing has its comparisons when it comes to Guardians of the Galaxy, especially the soundtracking, which in parts, especially in the beginning, they kind of overdid it a lot. In places it was fine, but then after a while it just kind of loses its edge, loses its steam. They don't do it nearly as much by the time the second act kicks in. At least not nearly as overly abundant because there's more going on. And the action scenes may not be the most memorable, but they get you by. And they just do enough. And it's just mostly about the characters and building up this team to try to carry, even though story structure wise it doesn't always help and work out. And Diablo had a moment in the third act, though, with that whole monster thing to actually beat out Incubus, which was the brother for Enchantress. Yeah. Now, some people would say that the Joker should have been more of the bad guy in this one, and that Harley could have been torn between the team and Joker, but still ultimately figuring that out. And a lot of people, I thought, thought that that would have been the story, but that wasn't the case. It was dealing with Enchantress. And some characters did get a happy ending, I guess. Deadshot got a chance to see his daughter, got visitation, which was nice and pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, Joker somehow survived that plane crash and broke out Harley, so there's not really much to the film except that it's a fun, exciting, entertaining film, as I had said before. And then the nice little mid-cred brief hint that we already knew about because thanks to the Comic-Con trailers, which if they hadn't even released that trailer until like after the movie, then it might have been a different story. But then again, we all already knew long before the trailers and stuff that we were going to get a Justice League movie anyway. And especially after Batman v Superman ended. Yeah, and even before that, that's the thing. We all knew that this was prepping them for it, so it was just kind of pointless. But, and, you know, that's kind of what I have to say much on Suicide Squad. What did you guys think of it? Come below, let me know. Rock the like button on this video with thrust if you must, if you liked it, of course. And, of course, thumbs up for Suicide Squad. Wait for Suicide Squad. It entertained, it did enough. It just couldn't rock all the way in the way that I think a lot of people would have liked, but it did enough to say that critics just don't understand what was going on because it's clearly meant more for the fans, and its service is plenty, and for the most part, especially with Harley Quinn. And yeah, as always, guys, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking, and I will see you in the next video.